Hi, this is Jody King Colegrove with Quantum Techniques. We have developed a proven technique to quickly determine the root cause of your health issue using a form of energy medicine. I work with people all over the world, helping them determine if they have a health issue and what they can do about it. So I'm right in the middle of the pandemic, and so I wanted to share some of the things that I find to be very, very helpful to help you and your family. We're trying to do as much service as we can to help you get through this time. And so Quantum Techniques is about both physical things that can, what's affecting your body, but it's also the non-physical things. So one thing that's really helpful is, making sure that your relationships at home are really important. And so some of the things that I have found to be very helpful is to keep a schedule. And it changes. I mean, just literally, my husband came in and said, hey, the schedule we had is not working. We've changed it up. We're making a little different schedule. And we all have our own schedule. So my husband has his, my son has his, and I have mine. And sometimes by doing that, we can find out when we line up, and we can find out when we don't, we clash. So they like to take a break at 10 o'clock, and right then is when I'm kind of diving into some of my greatest work. And so that doesn't jive. And so it just helps us have a little more grace when we're working with each other, especially at home. Someone had mentioned it'd be very helpful if you have younger kids to actually package their lunch. They're not going to be taking their lunch anywhere, but you've packed it through so that when they get hungry, they're just not going to the pantry and raiding it or getting into the cookies or something like that. But you've actually given them some wholesome things that they can eat, and that way they don't have to come bug you while you're trying to work. It's already made for the day. So I thought that was a really good tip. Another thing is to focus on projects. Now, my son's school has gone immediately right on to online, and so teachers are right in there giving assignments, and we haven't even skipped a beat. But other places may be doing different things. So I know that PBS and local libraries sometimes have a lot of things that you can look on for curriculum, for getting things that the kids can watch. The public broadcasting system in our area broke it out into different grade levels. And so they have different things for different grade levels, even up to age 12, which I thought was really neat if people need help with, history and math and reading and science and stuff like that. And then you can also, besides school, do other projects. We're in Boy Scouts, and so we can go online and you can print all the different badges that you can get. So we've printed ones that we think would be really fun to do around the house. So we've got fingerprinting, we've got photography, we got pet care. And so those are all things that we can do when we're at home. And so we have an opportunity to kind of, reading is another one, to focus on those. You can also have other activities like gardening, or doing lawn care. I was thinking of different things. So my husband kind of announced, hey, we're gonna have basketball tryouts later today. My son just looked at me, he's like, I don't like basketball. He's like, yeah, but maybe you'll make the team. And it's just just fun things that are helpful to help you kind of bridge this gap, and so give kids a different perspective. I know we have a badminton thing that we got from my husband's parents, and so we could set that up in the backyard and try badminton. You got time. So just think about different projects would be helpful. And I think it's fun to actually sit down and kind of brainstorm together, because everybody has a different project that they might be fun to do. And so you could join, what your son would think would be a fun product, which is usually games and puzzles, which is not my husband's favorite thing. I don't mind, so I don't mind doing that. But that way it kind of helps everybody kind of get involved. So making sure that also the kids have Zoom meetings or play dates or time with friends. And so we always limit screen time, but you can, they can call up Grandma and Grampy, they can, communicate and talk. And so they have that connection with their family and friends to be able to do that. I think also it's important to give full intention in different small doses. So for an example, if I'm working hard, my son will come in and say, I need a hug. And so I will give him a hug, and I'll be as present as I possibly can and give him just the 2 or 3 minutes that he needs to make that connection. instead of going, oh, I got to work, I'm stressed. Don't do that. So just be aware how you react and respond to the kids in the household and your husband during those times. So those can be very helpful in being able to get the work done, but also connect. Another one is obviously physical activity is really important to get them outside, in a safe place where they can, breathe the fresh air, get the vitamin D from the sunshine, run around, get out all that energy. We find, and I've learned this many years ago with a program called Brain Lead, about how our brain thinks in different ways. And if we were to sandwich an activity that we don't like in between two that we do like, it's helpful. And so an example is, let's say my mom really enjoyed, literature and creativeness and marketing. And so she would do that, but then she also would do bookkeeping, which is a very basal left activity where everything has to be regimented. So what she would do is she would do something fun and creative, then they'd do the bookkeeping and then do something creative. And she found that when she did that, she wasn't always eating as more, trying to get the energy that you needed to do the activity you didn't want. So just sandwiching activities is helpful. And then just being aware of getting something that the kids really want to read. When this first happened, the first thing that we did is go to this the bookstore, and get a book that my son really wanted to read. So that way we'd have something during this time. So that's important to do. And there's a lot of reading hours and stuff like that let's say PBS is doing also. So other things that you can do during this time, depending on the age of the kid, is, definitely talk to the kids about what's going on, but meet them where they're at. Don't assume that they understand or they know. I will never forget that, my son, I was talking to somebody and I mentioned something that we have worked on with a client, and he goes, well, I didn't know you worked with people that have that issue. And it's like, oh, yes, yeah, I do. And so sometimes you assume and you don't realize, kind of what the kids are picking up. So we don't want to over scare them. So take clues from them and say, be calm. In other words, kids watch you for how you're responding to this. And so I think it's really important that we're aware of how we're responding and not just reacting. And that's something I've kind of talked about before, or I talk about with my clients, is it's important to be aware, are you reacting to situations or are you responding to things? And make it a habit to respond and not just react. Be empathetic for where the kids are at. And, it may be helpful to tell them a scary story about your childhood or something that you had to go through and what you learned from that. That will help them relate to you. Be careful with the level of detail. I know this was something that was really hard for me because September 11 happened before my son was born. And so at the anniversary, they'd always show it on TV. And so I was always kind of careful to edit that as much as possible. And he got to an age and he said, why haven't you ever talked to me about 9/11? I went, oh, okay, I guess we're ready. So just be aware of that. And then you want to give them things that they feel empowered about, okay? And which is an opportunity for you guys to bond. And so, help them know how you're handling the situation or things that you have learned from things in the past that have been difficult. And those are all going to be things that help that you guys bond together and help them know how to handle it. And again, you're helping them learn how to be calm and how to respond to a situation. So those are things that you can do as a parent. I didn't really talk about relationships, so I'll kind of dive into that a little bit. Just be aware of what each other's needs are. I know I learned long ago, my husband was studying for his doctorate, and I tend to, if I have a thought, just want to say it. And I got in really, really good at raising my hand. And so I would stand by his desk and raise his hand, or I would, be aware of, we were working in the same room and I'd raise my hand. And so when it was appropriate stop place, he would say, yes, can I help you? It seems weird, but it really worked for us. And so we were respecting each other's space. And I think we're still doing that same thing. And we worked together for 18 years. And so it's kind of fun actually to be back working together. But my son, he tends to hum when as he's working, and my husband's like, okay, I can't handle that. So just being aware and touching bases with and how everything is going. So even with the schedules that we've created, we're just aware of like, okay, we need to tweak that a little bit, or how's this working? And so we're checking in with each other quite a bit to be aware of how each other are doing emotionally and spiritually, and just with their everyday, whether they're achieving the things that they want to achieve. So I think that's really important. So, and just it's important that you maintain that bond and that connection. So if there's any parts of these that you're having difficulty with, that's where quantum techniques can really be helpful. We work with people on helping them clear beliefs. Sorry, I just noted, it's just so fun. I talk about how people are just being so resilient, and I see that. A guy just walked by with a set of weights, and he's walking down the street exercising. A lady across the street is working with the church, and she's helping pick weeds. And so people are finding things that they can do to service and help their bodies, and I just think that's so empowering. So I just want to share that as I saw that. So going back to my husband. Now I forgot what my thought was, but we're just aware of checking in with each other to see how each other are doing and whether there's something that we can do to help nurture each other better through this time. And we've been through a lot together, and so it's just a matter of making sure that we're both on the same page and helping each other through that. And if you're having relationship difficulties, being able to know what's blocking that and find that. And I think that's where I was going. With quantum techniques, what we do is we find what are the non-physical issues that are blocking a relationship, whether that's with your husband or your son, or kids, even pets. But we find, are there beliefs that are blocking? Are the intentions that are keeping you? One of the things that I'm finding a lot of my clients is there's an intention to not connect with the divine. And it's almost like because the world's in a fear state, we don't want to connect with anybody, but the divine needs to get through. So it's really important to kind of clear that. So we deal with beliefs, intentions, vows that you might have, if you've gone through difficulties or traumas before, punishing beliefs, So yeah, we deal with all those to try to clear those so you have the best relationships possible. So I think that's really important. We want that for you. So visit quantumtechniques.com. You can email me at jody@quantumtechniques.com. I'm sorry, jody@quantumtechniques. And we can help you with a session request to get those things cleared up so that you can use this time to learn how to react and how to respond instead of just react. All right, well, blessings from Quantum Techniques.